Welcome back to the breakdown. It is Thursday, August 1st. Not a big MLB slate today. A couple games in there. We'll talk about each of them. But since it is August 1st, we're actually going to dive into all of July and look at how teams did, look at the best records versus the worst records, best ERAs versus the worst ERAs, and a bunch of different cool stats. So we're going to talk about all the games. We're obviously going to talk about those July statistics. Then we'll wrap up with some guys that are hot versus cold that play today, as well as good and bad matchups. Like I said, it's a short slate, but everything will be timestamped down below if you want to jump around. My name's Austin from Calling Our Shot. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Go hit that subscribe button, drop a like. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the breakdown. Let's start with the teams that have the best record in July versus the worst record, and then we'll keep moving on through the video. I'm rocking a little Serpientes Diamondbacks throwback because they had the best record in July. This is a Madison Bumgarner shirt jersey. Disgusting, but D-back 17-8, great record, followed up by the Mets. The A's are in there, the Pirates, who made some deadline deals, and the Padres, five teams that have been pretty good in July. Let's see if they can continue that into August as they all make a playoff push. I mean, every single one of those teams, well, I'm going to be honest, A's fans, you guys are cooked, but the other four teams are making a playoff push for those wild card spots. Then you had the worst record. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. The White Sox are sitting here 3-22. They are still searching their first win. I don't know, when was their last win? 17 games ago. Disgusting. Nationals weren't great. Marlins, 10-14, not a terrible month, honestly, given how they've done this season. Mariners and Phillies, though, two teams that lead their divisions. Well, Mariners are right there. Phillies lead their division. Two teams that are hoping that August is a little bit better towards their record, and I'm certainly pretty confident it will be. Both those, well, the Phillies just got swept, but the Mariners have been a little bit better the last 5 or 6 games. They had a really rough start to July. So if those are your teams, if they're hot, good. Hope they continue. If they're cold, hey, it's a new month. Look forward to it. Let's move on to some guys that pitched really well in July and guys that didn't. Now, we're only going to look at starting pitchers. I don't care about bullpen arms. Sorry, bullpen guys, relievers. But starting pitchers, you had to pitch at least 4 times. I didn't want to do guys that only pitched 3. But the guys that were really good, Hunter Green, Blake Snell, we know he returned back from injury. He looked great. Taj Bradley looked really good prior to yesterday. The Miami Marlins kind of got to him. Luis Ortiz and Paul Skeens, 2 Pittsburgh Pirates. Hey, Paul Skeens, you got some work to do, buddy. You got a guy in front of you on your own team. Okay, we know those are the great pitchers. We're probably backing those guys a lot. Worst pitchers, these are the guys that really sucked. So maybe if you've been backing them, maybe you can share some pain here because Mitchell Parker, he's stunk. Frankie Montas, Albert Suarez, those guys are just terrible. Mackenzie Gore pitched decently yesterday before I think the 6th inning where he gave up a few runs. And then Cal Quantrill. Those guys have not been great in July. Maybe their August starts are a little bit better. Sometimes just changing the calendar to August, sometimes it fixes those guys. I don't know how, but hey, we'll see how those guys do, and then we'll do the same kind of recap at the end of August. But those are the guys that have been pretty fadeable, so definitely look at those. Not a surprise 2 Nationals are there, given how bad their record was in July. And then finally, our final July statistics are guys that crushed the baseball in July. And, well, guys that are glad it's August. Now, I just looked at batting average here. Obviously, there are some guys that did a lot better and maybe had a lot more home runs. Aaron Judge, probably like 10 home runs in the month. But looking at batting average alone, Bobby Witt Jr., not a surprise to see him there. Xander Bogaerts, pretty good month. He returned middle of the month, but looked really good for the Padres. Xavier Edwards hit for the cycle a few days ago. He's looked really good for Miami, now batting leadoff. Brent Rooker, I think he might have led the league in home runs in July. He absolutely crushed the baseball. And Victor Robles, I mean, he was a bright spot for the Mariners offense, and he really provided them some consistency at the top of their lineup. I mean, he's batting .375. He's getting on base. He's been really, really good for the Mariners. Now, here are guys that really struggled in July. These are not the guys with the worst batting average, whereas the guys I just talked about had the best. These are guys that I picked out that are well-known names. I'm not going to mention guys that you have no interest in knowing. Jake Rogers, he sucked. Sorry, Jake Rogers, you just caught a stray. Adley Rutschman, really poor July. Isaac Paredes, the newly acquired Chicago Cub, not a great July either. Bryce Harper, we've talked about him time and time again. Same with Matt Olson. Those guys have been on the cold hitter matchups. And then Adolis Garcia, 2 power hitters down there with Olson and Garcia. Both guys didn't really have a great July. Those are guys I just picked out. You guys know who those guys are. They're kind of household names at this point. Isaac Paredes, maybe not, but he just got traded. Other guys, I mean, you're expecting better from Adley Rutschman, Bryce Harper, those guys. And maybe August brings some good luck for them. So we'll see. Those are just some hot and cold hitters just for the whole month of July. Minimum 50 plate appearances. So there might be a guy out there that hasn't played a ton this month and been sucking, but they didn't make the cut for the list. So hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of a July recap. Hopefully you guys had a great month of July, and hopefully August brings everything that you can hope for. And we're going to dive into the games today. Like I said, only 5 games on the slate. We're going to start with the first one, which is the Orioles going on the road to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Now, I put TBD for Baltimore. could be Trevor Rogers. It's not been guaranteed that he will start here, and I honestly don't know. So I put TBD, maybe Cleveland's versus a lefty. If they are, I kind of like Cleveland in this spot. You have a pick 'em. Ben Lively will start for the Guardians. He's pretty much confirmed. Now, Baltimore's been really good against righties. We know that. They were crushing righties in that series against the Blue Jays. They were putting up a ton of runs. Now they're on the road. The Guardians did have the day off yesterday, so have a little bit of a rest advantage, especially for the bullpens here. Cleveland's bullpen much better than Baltimore over the last 2 weeks. I like the Guardians here. It's just I can't really back the Guardians until I know who's pitching for Baltimore. Guardians have been pretty good against lefties recently. Sure, 21st in all those metrics down below against lefties. Yeah, that's not great, but they've been a lot better recently. I'm sure if you looked at over like the last week, maybe, and so 2 weeks, you'd see, hey, they've been pretty good. They just haven't been getting those timely hits. I mean, we talked about Tariq Skubal. He faced the Guardians recently. He gave up 10 hits, but only got 1 or 2 earned runs on him. Obviously, those hits are going to come. The Guardians were one of the best offenses in the league prior really till July. They just haven't been great this month. Now you got August. Maybe they're hit a little bit better. Baltimore's been really good against righties, but Ben Lively's just been steady. He's been steady. He just goes out there, he does his job, and pitches well. I mean, I think he's allowed 2 earned runs or less in, 80% of his starts. He gives them quality starts. Maybe not an actual quality start going 6, but he goes 5 innings pitched, maybe into the 6th, then he gives up 2 or 3 earned runs. He's been really good for the Guardians today, which is why I think he gives them a chance. Trevor Rogers obviously hasn't been great for the Marlins, and Cleveland could hit him around. So I kind of like Cleveland here. Not sure I'd bet it because I don't know who the heck's starting for the Orioles today. But if it's Trevor Rogers, man, I wouldn't be shocked if the Guardians won that game. But probably, again, a game I'm not really touching. Now, Royals versus Tigers. Today you got Seth Lugo versus Kaider Montero. 8.5 total. Not a surprise to see Kansas City pretty reasonable favorites, given you have a Seth Lugo and a 2.38 ERA versus a 6.38. But at the end of the day, I kind of like runs in this game. I really think there's a lot of runs. Montero's sucked. Let's be honest. He sucked in Kansas City swinging hot bats, put up a ton of runs against the Royals. Not against the White Sox. That's not really saying much. The White Sox literally stink. But Detroit, I think Montero gives up a bunch of runs here, and their bullpen hasn't been elite at the back end. Seth Lugo, though, I think Detroit puts up some runs. Seth Lugo's been good. The numbers have been good, but these last few starts, he's not looked good. He obviously is far into the year, pitched a lot of innings. Wouldn't be shocked if his arm's getting a little bit fatigued. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe they start resting him a little bit, maybe skipping a start here and there. Obviously, he's been really, really good, but Seth Lugo's starting to give up more hits, more runs, and stuff like that. So I think his ERA is going to finish closer to 3. So I wouldn't be shocked if maybe the Tigers, an offense that hasn't been great recently, maybe starts getting some runs up on him. I wish I had Riley Green. I don't know if he's back yet, but I really think there's runs in this game. 8.5 total, maybe that's close. Kansas City, I've historically this season had bad luck with projecting them to get runs on the road. They just never seem to get hits when I need them. But Kaider Montero, pretty dang bad. I think to get some runs up on him. I like the over in this game. Not sure I'll make it an official pick, but I do like some runs in that one. Next one is Marlins and Braves. You have Charlie Morton taking on Max Meyer. You look at these two starters' ERAs. Meyer doesn't have a lot of innings under his belt. I think only 21, only a couple starts. Not a shock to see the Braves pretty big favorites. The Marlins will be underdogs a lot the rest of the year, as they already have been this year. I like the Marlins. I mean, they got to Taj Bradley yesterday. They just have a lot of young guys that I really like. Marlins before trade deadline lineup stunk because you had guys like Jazz, you had Bell, you had Brian De La Cruz, guys that I felt like weren't trying at all in that lineup, given they were so bad. Now you got guys like Xavier Edwards. You got guys like they started Stowers yesterday. Norby will eventually be in that lineup. Jake Berger and those guys are trying hard. I mean, they're swinging hot bats. They're putting the ball in play, and when you put the ball in play, good things happen. So I like the Marlins. I'm not sure I want to back them, but I don't know if it's certainly super safe to back the Braves at minus 200 with Charlie Morton. Morton, a guy that's been very up and down this season. Braves bullpen pretty solid. Miami's bullpen's been really good despite trading some of their key arms. I'm sure that bullpen ERA will go down as the in August probably will be pretty not great but decent. I really like the Marlins though. I think there's runs here. The Braves I don't know if I can trust them to score runs consistently. It wouldn't shock me though if the Marlins won this game. Not sure I'm willing to step out on a Marlins money line so far into right now, which to start off August. But I really like the Marlins offense. I think they got a lot of good and talented hitters in there. They're going to be an annoying team. You're going to have them big underdogs, and they're going to win some games in August because they're just going to troll around. They're not going to be great, but they're going to be competitive. I really like their lineups, and I really like what they did at the deadline. A lot of new young guys in there, and I bet you they'll just be rotating around their lineups in August, which would be kind of hard and frustrating if you want to back their hitters. But I'm sure Xavier Edwards is probably the only guy you can trust to be in that lineup every single day. That guy is really, really good. We have two final games on the slate. We have the Cardinals and the Cubs, divisional series here. Sonny Gray versus Shota Imanaga. Now, this is an interesting one. Sonny Gray has been really bad on the road this year. Now he meets the Chicago Cubs team that just put up like 17 runs yesterday, but has been really bad against right-handed pitching. I lean the Cubs swinging hot bats. I lean some runs in this game. Shota Imanaga, he has been very good, but I'm sure the Cardinals, I didn't check. I'm sure they've already seen him before. We've talked about Shota. First and two times through the order, really good. Go look at what happens the third time through the order. He's given up like a 360 batting average. So might be a slow start here for the Cardinals, but when they get that third time through, don't be shocked that they start putting up some runs. I really think there's a lot of runs in this game. Sonny Gray's been bad on the road. Sure, the Cubs haven't been great at home or against righties, but they can hit Sonny Gray. They've seen him a ton. And then obviously Shota against this Cardinals team that has been hit lefties decently. We had Andrew Heaney's under and outs yesterday. They did a good job getting some runs up on him. I think there's runs here. Cubs bullpen's been really good. That's eventually going to do some regression. Cardinals bullpen hasn't been great. So don't be shocked if this goes over 7.5. Typically when you see two aces on the mound, Sonny Gray, Shota Imanaga, goes over. Just ask people that bet the Braves and Brewers under yesterday with Chris Sale and Freddie Peralta. Yeah, that game found a way to go over. Wouldn't be shocked if this one goes over as well. Not sure I'll take it because if the Cubs were any better against righty, I probably would take it. But I don't know if I really want to trust them. These two offenses too much. And the final game on the slate, talking about the Rockies and Angels, I believe the only series that is continued from yesterday. We have a start of a bunch of new series in those first four games. This is a continuation, the end of this series. Obviously, we have Ryan Feltner versus Carson Fulmer. Yesterday, if you watched the video, I dropped a lot of helpful nuggets. Hopefully, you guys have been using them to your advantage. Yesterday, I said I really liked the under in that game. Davis Daniel and Kyle Freeland with their combined 12 ERA. That's going under. And what happened? It was a 2-1 final. Today, you have a little bit better pitching with Ryan Feltner and Carson Fulmer. Kind of like the over here. I think there's runs. I think both these two offenses can put up runs. Feltner has sucked. He has not been great this season. Been better on the road, but it's not. I mean, he's been better at getting out of jams, in my opinion. He's still giving up a lot of base runners. And if you're giving up base runners, all it takes is one swing of the bat. And the Angels are capable of doing that at home. I think there's runs here. I don't know if I'll make the over 8.5 an official play, but that's where I would lean here. Don't know if I would want to pick a side here, but I think there's runs. Carson Fulmer will give up runs. Their bullpens have seen, each other for 2 or 3 straight games. They'll give up some runs there too. Feltner will give up runs. I think this is a good over spot if you're looking for some runs. Final game on the slate. I think we see some runs in the Rockies and Angels final game of the series. Rockies offense is always hit or miss, but I think they'll be able to tag up Carson Fulmer a little bit. So I really like runs in this game. Not sure it'll be an official pick, but like I said, I really like some runs in this contest. And then finally, just a shorter video than normal. We're going to wrap up just looking at hot and cold hitters versus guys in good and bad matchups. Shorter slate here a little bit because I had to pick out guys that are playing today. Nick Fortes, Jorge Soler, Cedric Mullins, you have Michael Ciani, Xavier Edwards, all guys that are swinging pretty hot bats recently. So if you want to back them, certainly go for it. Guys that are pretty cold. Normally I like to put on guys that are household names here, but Zach McKinstry, Otto Lopez, Brandon Drury, and Michael Massey. It's a short slate. What do you want from me? I got to pick guys that have PAs and guys that and also guys that play. Well, maybe you don't know all these guys. So they've been kind of struggling at the plate. So not sure if they come up with runners in scoring position that you should feel too confident. Those are guys that are obviously hot, guys that are cold. Man, Jorge Soler continues to rake the ball. He's still on the Braves, but man, he's going hard. Finally, wrap up with good and bad matchups. Now, typically the requirement is 5 PAs here, 5 plate appearances, so not a lot of a sample size here for a lot of these hitters. Guys that have swung the bat decently, Ian Happ for Sonny Gray, he's hit the ball pretty well. Lane Thomas versus Trevor Rogers, if that is the matchup. Lane has, I believe, 2 home runs in those 5 hits. So maybe a little Lane Thomas, 2+ bases. He's been really good against lefties this year. And then Dansby Swanson versus Sonny Gray, 4 for 12. Nothing too crazy, but solid averages. Again, there weren't a lot of guys with experience versus their respective pitchers today. Finally, guys that have not been great. Patrick Wisdom, don't even know if he'll be in the lineup. 1 for 8 with 6 strikeouts for Sonny Gray. Jake Berger, 0 for 5 versus Morton, and Seiya Suzuki, 1 for 6 versus Sonny Gray. So again, a weirder episode given we only have 5 games. Typically, we have bigger slates, even though it is a Thursday getaway day where you see a lot of teams traveling. So a short slate, but hopefully enjoyed the recap from July. Hopefully you enjoyed, the couple games we broke down and then some hot and cold and good matchups for guys. So I hope you guys have a wonderful start to your July, a wonderful Thursday. Our best bets video should be live after this video. And And we get to bring out the brooms over there. 3-0 sweep to wrap up July. Hopefully some momentum to carry over into August. You guys have a great day. Don't force too many bets on the bankroll. It's only a 5-game slate, but have fun with it. I believe the Hall of Fame game is tonight as well. So, hey, football August is here. It's going to be a good month. Hopefully you guys have a great month. And I'll see you guys back tomorrow for the final episode of the breakdown for this week. And we're going to make it a good one. So I'll see you guys then. Peace.